I just wanted to share with you guys the story of my uncle's life. When he was a senior in high school, he began smoking marijuana. He was a football player, and because he was such a good athlete, he was able to get a scholarship to a Texas university. And at that university, one night he went to a party, and all the football players were there, and the star football player on the team offered him a pipe. It was crack cocaine in the pipe, and he smoked it and he liked it. And from that point on, his life began to kind of spiral out of control. He had been dating a young lady, and she was attending the University of Texas, and once she realized what was going on with him, they broke up. He ended up having to drop out of school because he just couldn't kick the habit, and for many years, he fought the habit. He actually got clean several times. He would go into a rehabilitation center, and he would get clean. He actually became a minister in the meantime, and then the urge to go back was so strong, the addiction was so strong that he would go back every time. And my grandparents, you know, they fought with him and really wanted to see him kick the habit, but he just couldn't. And he ended up getting arrested when he was 40 years old, and he died while he was in jail from a heart attack. And when they did the autopsy, they found out that he didn't have any drugs in his system at the time, but because of the years of abuse to his body, his heart just gave out, and he died from a heart attack while he was in prison. And before he died, though, fortunately, he did write a letter to my grandparents, and he shared with them how he began smoking and, you know, the devastation that it caused in his life that he was aware of. And he actually says at the end of his letter, he was writing this from a prison cell at the time. He says, "To my grandparents, for all that it's worth, this time I'm truly making an honest effort to change my life for good. Christ is doing for me that which I could never do for myself. Thanks for your prayers and for your support." And this is my uncle's funeral program. My Uncle Rusty.
It takes cocaine less than 5 seconds to reach the brain.
High up above or down below.
So I'm the youngest girl of 3, and my oldest sister, who was 11 years older than me, had a drug and alcohol problem all her life from age 16. I lost her in 2005. She was the oldest, and I was the baby, and I looked up to her my entire life. I lost her to drugs and alcohol.
3/4 of people that use meth the first time become addicted. This is what could happen to you.
Something you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be worse?
6 years ago, my grandpa died of cancer in his esophagus, and because he smoked and drank his entire life. And even in his last weeks of life, he couldn't even eat real substance food. He was being fed out of a bag, and he was there. I have memories of seeing him, you know, sitting in his chair smoking. He couldn't quit smoking, and that was one of his advice that he gave to all of us, was to never ever start anything that you could get addicted to.
And the tears come streaming down your face.
Hi, I am Sophronia Beckford. I am one of the English teachers here at Sagwoods. My story is that on October 12th, 2006, my husband was killed by a drunk driver on his way home from work. I am therefore a widow with have 3 children.
When you feel so tired but you can't sleep.
I have a sister who's about 16 years older than me, and she and I have always been really close. And back when I was in high school, she sat me down one day and she said, "Stacy, I know there's a good chance you're going to come in contact with drugs, and cocaine in particular." And she said, "I know you and I know me, and chances are if we try cocaine, we're going to like it. So let's just make a pact right now to never even try it so that we don't risk becoming addicted." And so we did. We made that pact, and I never tried it, and neither did she. But ironically, her husband, Paul, who had also never tried cocaine, decided to in his late 30s. But the cocaine had a more severe reaction to his body more quickly than most. And the way she actually found out that he was doing cocaine was that he ended up in the hospital for seizures. And then he ended up in the hospital a second time for seizures. And the third time, he didn't survive. So my brother-in-law, Paul, died of a cocaine overdose within 3 months of his first time to even try it. That was about 10 years ago, and he left behind 2 daughters, one of which is now a high school senior. It's just not worth it, Wildcats. Make a pact with yourself, and don't even try it.
When you lose something you can't replace.
My cousin Ty lived in a small Texas city growing up, and he had gone to his homecoming dance and they drank, and on the way home he hit a motorcyclist. Fearing that he would be arrested or get into trouble, he came home and took a shotgun and shot himself, and he was 17 years old. Drinking and driving kills.
When you try your best but you don't succeed. When you get what you want but not what you need.
Heavy drinking can cause high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and even brain damage.
The person in my life who fell prey to drugs is my brother Ronnie. Addicted to alcohol and crack cocaine, he has spent the majority of his adult life in prison, where he's now serving a 25-year sentence for tying up an elderly couple, stealing their car, $400, and then leading the policeman on a high-speed chase through the small city of Natchez, Mississippi, just for the high. He's stolen most from the people who love him and from perfect strangers alike, because when you're in the clutches of drugs, no one is excluded, and no job ever pays enough. How I wish that he could go back to the age of 14 when he showed promise of being a brilliant artist and poet, when he was compulsively neat and clean, and even to that day when he took his first hit of marijuana, but this time, just say no.
Heroin overdose played a role in over 164,000 emergency room visits in 2006 across the United States.
And the tears come streaming down your face when you lose something.
My dad chose to smoke weed over his daughter, so we don't speak anymore. And
when you try your best but you don't succeed. When you get what
My uncle died when he was 40 years old from a drug habit of smoking crack cocaine.
My grandpa died of cancer in his esophagus because he was a lifelong smoker.
On October 12, 2006, my husband was killed by a drunk driver.
Drinking and driving kills. It killed my cousin Ty.
My brother Ronnie fell victim to crack cocaine and alcohol.
when you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone